Now, this is Luke chapter 11, verse 29 through to 37. Remember, a lawyer has come to Jesus and he has said they've agreed that it's those who will love God with everything and love their neighbour as themselves will have eternal life. And so this lawyer says to Jesus, but who's my neighbour? And that's in verse 29, and it says, the man wishing to justify himself, he said to Jesus, and who is my neighbour? And Jesus replied and said, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among robbers. And they stripped him and beat him and went away, leaving him half dead. And by chance a priest was going down on that road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. Likewise a Levite also, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan who was on a journey came upon him, and when he saw him, he felt compassion, and came to him and bandaged up his wounds, pouring oil and wine on them. And he put him on his own beast, and brought him to an inn, and took care of him. On the next day he took out 2 denarii, and gave them to the innkeeper, and said, take care of him, and whatever more you spend, when I return I will repay you. Which of these 3 do you think proved to be a neighbour to the man who fell into the robber's hands? And he said, the one who showed mercy towards him. Then Jesus said to him, go and do the same. There were 3 who came to this man who had been beaten up by robbers on the road from Jerusalem down to Jericho. The first was a Cohen, a priest, and he passed by on the other side. We don't know why. Some people said, well, perhaps they thought he was going to die and that he'll be unclean if he touched a dead body. And then a Levite who was there to also serve God in the different towns and cities around Jerusalem. And he passed by on the other side, perhaps for the same reason. I don't know. Perhaps they just thought, no one will know. No one will know if I just pass by. And if they do ask me, didn't you see that man? I can just say, well, no, I didn't. I can get away with it. I'm on my own here, on this road down to Jericho. And I can ignore this thing that is there on the road, because no one will know. But God was watching. God would have been watching the Cohen pass by on the other side. And he broke God's command, which was to love his neighbour as himself. And there was a Levite who also broke God's command, which was to love his neighbour as himself. And then came a Samaritan. Now the Jews, they look on the Samaritans, they're the worst of the worst, because they're kind of half Jews, but not really. And he came and he took this man and he bathed his wounds and he took him up. Perhaps he knew that the man as a Jew would have berated him normally in life, but he took him up and he put him on his own donkey and then took him to the inn, took care of him, ensured that he would be taken care of until he was well again by giving 2 days' wages. So that must have been probably £400 or £500 in today's money. Gave it to him, to the innkeeper. Look after this man until he's well. And that's what being a neighbour is. That's what Jesus said. If you were that man lying beaten up, wouldn't you have wanted somebody to take care of you? And so Jesus said, well, that's what God commands. That was what God commands. And in my story, that we find that the Samaritan was better than the Levite and the Cohen, the priest, who passed by.